Now, CBS 47 Eyewitness News brings you breaking news.
Coming on the air with breaking news right now, I'm Joey Horta. A Fresno County Sheriff's deputy has been wounded in an apparent shooting up in the Toll House area. This happened around 11 o'clock this morning, and we're told that the sheriff, Fresno County Sheriff Margaret Mims, is about to give us some information about exactly what happened there in a press conference here. We're waiting for that to happen here in just a few minutes. She is getting prepared for that, but that deputy has been flown to CRMC in Fresno in the last hour or so. We're told early signs were from the sheriff meeting with this deputy that indications are that his injuries look like that he's going to be okay. It's not as bad as it could be. We're told there has been arrest, or at least one suspect in custody at this point that has been detained, and we're also told that there is one suspect who they are still looking for, who is still out there. You see right here in this video what led up to that police presence that was very heavy. That is right outside of an elementary school where lots of law enforcement officers were on hand. Let's go now to the sheriff, who is getting prepared to give us some information right now.
He's received a call of shots fired in the area of Fresno County known as Toll House. It's a very remote mountain region in the eastern part of Fresno County. The argument was between neighbors. It was over a civil issue, property lines. And as a result of that disagreement, there were shots fired from one of the parties. When deputies arrived on scene, they started taking fire from what they describe as rifle shots. And a deputy sheriff was in fact wounded as a result of these volley of gunshots. He had a civilian ride along with him. The ride along is uninjured and doing well. We have the deputy was transported here to CRMC, where he's receiving excellent care. All of the family is here and are notified. I can give you the name of the deputy sheriff. His name is John Erickson. S-O-N is the spelling of the last three letters of his name. 49 years old. He's worked for the sheriff's office for 11 years. He previously worked for Kerman Police Department. His wound is to the leg. He does have a broken leg, and he is, again, I will say, receiving excellent care here at CRMC. Deputies have been up to this location before for similar types of disagreements. All of the previous disagreements were not criminal in nature. They were civil as a result of a property line dispute. I want to tell you a little bit about the deputy sheriff. He never lost consciousness. He was transported by our good crime-fighting partners, the California Highway Patrol, in their helicopter here to the hospital. As they were tending to his wound, he was yelling at them, "Don't cut off my new boots." He just bought a brand new pair of boots, and that's what he was concerned about. And that just gives you an idea into his mindset. He knew he was in good hands, and he wanted to save his brand new boots. Deputy Erickson is assigned to work up in Area 4. We call that area Area 4, represented by Supervisor Magsig. And he has a good relationship with the community up in that area, an excellent relationship. I was able to see him for just I was able to let him know that he was going to be okay. He was getting excellent care, and that the sheriff's office would take care of his family. And his response to me, agency. And I told him I was proud of him and the deputy sheriffs that got him out of that scene. Now, when he was wounded, he went down outside of his patrol car. A rescue operation had to take place with other deputies responding to that area to get him out. And I want to commend the deputy sheriffs. There were 4 or 5 deputy sheriffs that carried him hundreds of yards in horrible, awful terrain, hills, unsteady footing. They were able to get the deputy out and get him to the helicopter where they had a location where they could land. They did that successfully, but it took a long time. He was probably at the scene before he was evacuated for almost an hour. So with that, that's the information I have at this point. As far as the suspect, we have an idea of who he is. However, this is still a very dynamic, ongoing situation up at the scene. SWAT is on the scene. We have armored vehicles at the scene, and we have been in contact with the suspect. However, at this time, I'm not ready to release a possible suspect name. We are still engaged with him. So, are there any questions?
Was it just two suspects, two neighbors that were firing at each other when the deputies arrived?
No, only one of them, only one person was firing.
And did it appear that he then shifted his aim when deputy cars arrived towards the deputies and then not toward the neighbor anymore?
Yeah. The original call was shots fired, so exactly if he was shooting at a person, I haven't confirmed that yet. However, when deputies arrived, there was no doubt that he was shooting at them, hit the vehicle, and as a result, we've got a deputy injured.
Can you tell us again where the deputy was injured? You said he was...
The deputy was shot in the back of his right leg. His femur is broken. He's got a broken leg. So they have done scans. He's on his way to surgery right now. But he's going to be fine. He was talking, he was conscious, he's in pain, as you can well imagine. But again, I want to emphasize the excellent care he's getting here at CRMC and how proud we are to be able to have a place like this to bring our personnel.
And he's with his family is here. Does he have children?
His wife is here, his two children are here, and they are aware of his situation. They have also been able to see him. And it was good for them to be able to see him and have them talk to him.
Sheriff Mims, you made mention that Deputy John has been assigned to that area, Zone 4. You said Area 4. How long has he been assigned to that area? And did he know that suspect on a regular basis?
I don't know if he knew the suspect. However, deputies that have worked up there have said they've been to that location before on these disagreements, these property disagreements. I don't know that he himself has been on a call up to that particular location.
Do you know if he's ever been hostile towards authorities, towards the deputies?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet. They certainly have not confronted by gunfire when we've been there. Otherwise, we would have taken care of business. But now he's going to be responsible for this very serious injury to a deputy sheriff. This is attempted murder. And it's all over a silly reason to start shooting at anybody over a property line dispute.
Can you tell us, CHP is reporting that one person is in custody. Can you confirm any of that?
If that might have just happened since I walked from the hospital, but I don't know. I know they had detained somebody earlier in the morning, but I haven't confirmed that he is the suspect. Actual suspect is in custody. The last information I have just since I've left the building is that they're in contact with him, in communication with him, but he's surrounded. He's not going to win.
You mentioned, oh sorry, go ahead.
So there is an active scene, right?
Yes.
Is there anybody else in the house with the suspect?
No, we believe he's in the house. We do have one of his family members with us that is giving us some vital information that we need. So that's a benefit to us.
Sheriff Mims, you said 4 to 5 deputies were able to carry this deputy, hundreds of feet, hundreds of yards to get into the helicopter. What did the scene look like after that deputy was taken to the helicopter and flown back to safety? What were the deputies that were still on scene doing at that point?
Yeah, they were trying to contain the scene. What we mean by that is to make sure there's no avenue for escape for the suspect. The other thing that we do when it comes to a scene like that is we don't move anything unless we absolutely have to. So the deputy's car will stay there. Anything on the ground will stay there. We won't move it. It all has to be processed. So it's it's just kind of static right now. Now's the time to kind of slow things down and hopefully come to a good resolution on getting this person into custody.
Do you know if the suspect ceased fire at that point, or was he continuing to shoot once he noticed the deputy was down?
The shots continued for some time. The deputy was able to return fire, so he was able to help try and protect himself and his ride-along.
you talk a little bit about the ride-along? Who is the ride-along, and what did they do when the gunfire started happening?
I don't have a lot of details on exactly what the ride-along did. I do know that he's okay. He was not wounded. He was not injured. He is an acquaintance of the deputy. I know his name. I'm not going to release it at this time, but he is an acquaintance of the deputy and does periodically ride along with Deputy Erickson.
Any idea how he's handling being part of this?
Yeah, I've not been up to the scene yet. That's going to be my next stop. I'm going to go up there next. But he's given us some good information about directions of the shots when they came. So that's all good for us to know from a witness who was actually there.
Can you talk to us about the other person that was in the dispute with the alleged suspect?
Not right now. It is again. So.
Is that person being cooperative?
Oh yes. The other person is being very cooperative. In fact, they're the ones that called in. There's shots being fired. It's just unbelievable to me that someone would take this kind of action and get this angry over a property line dispute. Nothing is worth a civilian, a citizen, or a deputy sheriff's life.
So no, weren't targeting the deputy, correct?
They were. They were absolutely. When the deputy arrived, they absolutely were aiming at the vehicle and the people in that car.
Okay, so you don't know if they were definitely targeting that deputy?
He happened to be the deputy that responded, and my belief is, had it been any deputy responding, they would have fired.
So it wasn't specifically that deputy?
Correct.
Was the suspect injured in any way? Did any bullets graze him or touch him?
We don't know yet. We are only in voice communication with him, so we don't know yet what his physical status is.
And you mentioned this before, but no other calls had ever escalated to anything remotely close to a shootout or anything violent?
No, not to my knowledge. We haven't had any criminal type activity up there other than the civil dispute.
All right, we're going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you very much. We'll let you know what the next step is.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Listening live to a press conference with Fresno County Sheriff Margaret Mims right here. A shooting happened around 11 o'clock this morning in Toll House involving, as you heard there, a Fresno County Sheriff's deputy who's now been identified as 49-year-old Deputy John Erickson. He's been on the sheriff's team for 11 years now. A very experienced law enforcement officer. He happened to be with a civilian who was doing a ride-along with that deputy at the time. We're told the civilian was not injured in this shooting, but this all started, the sheriff says, over a property line dispute, something she was visibly angered by, that someone ended up being shot over this senseless act, and the suspect is going to be facing attempted murder charges, the sheriff telling us there in that press conference. She says they are still engaged with him. They've been in contact with him. They've talked to him, we would presume, over the phone. He is surrounded, and she says he is not going to win. We have a team of reporters who are covering this from all different angles up in Toll House now, where, again, we understand they're still looking for someone up there. There are conflicting reports from what we heard in that press conference as opposed to what we heard from CHP earlier, which CHP told us someone's been arrested or detained already and that they were looking for someone else. As you can see there, the sheriff not clear on that information. That may have happened since she walked out of the building to come speak with us. But the deputies have been to this location before for a property line dispute multiple times in the past, so they know this person that they're dealing with out there. We want to get to some of the video that we've been able to record so far from the scene if we could, and you can see a large presence of police officers from different agencies who've responded to this, all over an argument. Sheriff saying between neighbors up in Toll House, but this deputy has been wounded. The sheriff is saying that his injuries are not life-threatening. He has been shot in the leg, has broken his leg, but is in good hands and apparently in good spirits, saying that he had joked to the paramedics not to cut off the boots that he had just bought, wearing some new boots when this happened. So the one lighthearted thing that was brought up in this entire ordeal so far this afternoon. A deputy wounded, if you're just joining us, in the Toll House area, who was shot earlier today. That's video of the helicopter you just saw flying him to CRMC where he's being treated at this hour. A SWAT team is out there. Armored vehicles are out there at Toll House trying to deal with this suspect and make sure that he is taken into custody and that no one else is injured. The sheriff did mention that the deputy was able to return fire, but they don't know yet if the suspect was actually shot by the deputy. So we're working to bring you those details. That is going to do it for our coverage on air. We will continue, though, online at yourcentralvalley.com. We hope you join us there. Joining us, we are continuing our coverage online this afternoon. A deputy has been shot, a Fresno County Sheriff's deputy, up at the Toll House area this afternoon while responding to a dispute, we understand, between neighbors, a property line dispute. The deputy was at some point caught in the crossfire, it sounds like. He was shot in the leg. His leg has been broken. He has been flown to CRMC in Fresno. We just heard from Sheriff Margaret Mims a few minutes ago saying that the deputy's in good hands, that he is expected to be okay. He's met with his wife there at the hospital. Huge law enforcement presence still in place now in the Toll House area. We want to get out to Angelica Leilani, who is at the hospital this afternoon. She was just asking questions to the sheriff. Angelica, what else can you tell us?
Well, Joe, if you guys heard earlier in the newscast that Mims, she just left here right now, or she's actually right across the street. She said she's going to head back up to the scene in Toll House and take a look at what's going on, get more information. But from what we can tell, that she says his family, the deputy's family, is here with him. His two children are here with him. He was shot in the back of his leg, and his leg is broken. But they say that things are encouraging. They say that his first response was, "Don't cut off my new boots." I guess she says that he just acquired new boots and was worried about those. But she says that this all started over a dispute over property line between two neighbors. She says that one of the alleged suspect, they've had issues with him, or they've been called up to that area before. It's not confirmed whether or not this particular deputy has been called up to that area before, but he is assigned to what they call Area 4, and they said when the argument escalated, the man started shooting and opening fire towards this, I guess perhaps what she said was perhaps towards the other neighbor, and the other neighbor is the one that actually called 911 and let them know that shots were being fired. And when this Deputy Erickson arrived up there, he was with a civilian. We're told from Sheriff Mims that he did have a civilian, and that he is related in some way to the civilian, that he was doing a civilian ride along. She says when they arrived up there that that alleged suspect attempted to start shooting their way. She says that it wasn't necessarily being targeted at Deputy Erickson, but she believes that if any deputy had responded first, that deputy would have been shot as well. And she just says that this was an unnecessary. She called it silly. Mims called it silly over to try to take somebody's life over a property line dispute. Again, she is heading up there to the Toll House area, and as far as we know, it sounds like the deputy is going to be okay, and she said that she got to speak with him and his family, and it sounds like he's going to be okay. So one of the other members of the Fresno County Sheriff's Office also told me that they're just glad they're not having to plan a funeral for this deputy. So again, he's in good shape right now, and we'll keep you updated with the very latest. We'll have more on our newscast at 5, 6, and our later newscasts as well. For now, we'll send it back to you.
Angelica, before we let you go, talk a little bit about getting that deputy out of that situation. The sheriff had mentioned something about having to get him out of there was not easy.
That's right. She said it took about 4 or 5 deputies to haul him out about hundreds of yards. She just described it as a couple hundred yards where they had to physically carry him out, that he was on scene for about an hour before he could even get out of that area. She commended all the deputies and all the other law enforcement agencies that were involved. They did use CHP helicopter to fly the deputy here, and so she commended everybody's efforts to help rescue that deputy and make sure that he was okay. And also she says he's getting excellent care here at Community Regional Medical Center, and that they're very thankful for all the nurses and doctors. She mentioned that as well. When I spoke with her after the presser, she just mentioned that she was very, very thankful for everyone's help here.
And we understand that his wife arrived to the hospital again to see him after all of this happened. Angelica, were you able to witness any of that?
No, we were not, but we do understand that she is here with him, as long as his 2 children. No word on their ages, but they are all here, as well as extended family is here as well.
All right, Angelica, live at CR to see where that deputy is being treated at this hour. Thanks for that update. And we are going to continue our coverage here this afternoon. Again, a Fresno County Sheriff's deputy, if you're just joining us, has been shot and wounded in the Toll House area this afternoon. He was shot in the leg. We just heard from the sheriff a few minutes ago saying that the deputy's expected to be okay. He's in good hands now this afternoon. We have a team of reporters and photographers who are out there covering all angles of this. We want to get out to the Toll House area at this hour, if we could. And that's where Alexa Bertola is standing by live. Alexa, what are you seeing over there?
Yeah, I just want to give you guys a perspective of what's kind of happening out here. I am here at Sierra Elementary School, where we do have law enforcement presence behind me. This was kind of a staging area once this all unfolded around 11 this morning, but I just saw a car full of the SWAT members leave the area. It does seem as though some of the law enforcement that was in the area earlier is kind of taking off. Not quite sure what direction they are headed, but we are here along Toll House Road. We still have police out here, CHP, the sheriff's office. We have an ambulance here, but I was just speaking with a resident in the area who actually lives next door to where all of this unfolded. He has a 40-acre parcel, but his property butts up to where this shooting happened, and that is on Hidden Hollow Road, and he said that's closed right now. His wife has been in their house since 11 this morning, since right after this happened. She can't leave the house because obviously there's the large police presence out there, but he's telling me that the street that this happened on was Quail Springs Road. We do know, just a quick recap for those of you just tuning in, we do know that the original call was shots fired, and then it was a dispute between 2 neighbors. A deputy was shot in the back of a right leg. His femur is broken. He has been with the sheriff's office for 11 years now. We just heard the sheriff speak, saying that he is expected to be okay, but the location where I am now, I could say earlier, probably about an hour and a half ago, I would describe the scene as chaotic, but I'm starting to feel that things are letting up a bit. I'm probably about a couple minutes away from the Toll House Market. We still have some neighbors here kind of standing by who aren't able to go to their home on that was on the Hidden Hollow Road, and then earlier I was on Toll House and Burrow Road, which was also closed off. A lot of CHP officers there blocking it off, but just the scene behind me, it has let up a bit. As I mentioned, we do have deputies standing by talking with each other. I did see a van full of SWAT team members just take off, but it does seem as though things are a little bit quieter than they were earlier, but that's the very latest.
Alexa Bertola for us live out in Toll House at the scene where a deputy has been shot and wounded, and authorities from the Sheriff's Department and other law enforcement agencies trying to take a suspect into custody.
This all started around 11 o'clock this morning in Toll House. The good news is the deputy, who has now been identified as 49-year-old John Erickson, 11-year veteran with the Fresno County Sheriff's Department, is in stable condition. He was shot in the leg. Apparently his leg is broken. The good news, his family is with him, his wife and children with him. This happened early this morning in an isolated area, so much so that 4 or 5 other deputies had to go in there and carry Deputy John Erickson out to safety. He was by the side of his vehicle, we've been told, for roughly an hour before they were able to extricate him. This is still a very active situation in Toll House. We have been told that they do have a suspect in mind, but earlier this afternoon, Sheriff Margaret Mims declined to identify that suspect. They do have a SWAT team on location. They do have armored vehicles in that location as well. We've also been told that neighbors in the area at this point are not threatened. We've also been told that a relative of the suspect, yet unnamed, is also working with Fresno County Sheriff's officials to try to end this standoff, which has turned into a standoff, end it peacefully. Once again, a deputy was shot this morning. He is now at CRMC with a broken leg, with a gunshot wound to his leg.
And this all started with a neighbor dispute about property lines. That's why the Sheriff's Department was called out there. And so something that obviously that you can see might seem like a rather mundane issue can escalate into something like this, where we have a deputy hospitalized and a suspect barricaded.
And apparently, according to Sheriff Margaret Mims earlier, she gave a live press conference, this is an area that is known to the deputies. In other words, they've been out to that location, that property line in the past. So this is probably something that appeared on the surface, at least at first, to be a routine check on something. It was not a criminal matter, apparently, at the time. It was a civil dispute. And the unfortunate upshot of it is 49-year-old Deputy John Erickson was shot in the leg. He has a broken leg. The good news is he's now at CRMC, recovering, surrounded by his family members, his wife and his children. Of course, this breaking news story has been going on, Catherine, since 11 o'clock this morning. We'll continue to follow it. We do have live team coverage that we'll come up with on Eyewitness News today at 5.
So we'll see you back here again for a full wrap-up and a full update tonight at 5. Any developments that happen prior to that, we will let you know and keep you updated here on yourcentralvalley.com.